So picture this. You're a campaigner fighting for change, but you're struggling to fundraise and people aren't engaging in your emails. How do you get your campaign off the ground?
While our sponsor, Movement, grows support for your cause through personalised conversations. Movement enables trade unions, not-for-profits and grassroots organisations to talk with people where they are, in their pocket, through SMS, WhatsApp, email and phone calls, all in one place on Movement's platform.
That's right. Using Movement means you can win your campaign through compelling conversations with supporters, mobilising and fundraising with them from where they are. Movement helped the Labour Party, Hope Not Hate and Unison run successful campaigns this year.
Movement is really easy to use and it's also free up to the first 10,000 contacts you upload. Just head to their website, www.movement.industries/over-under-promotion and book a call to see how their platform can get your campaign across the line. We'll also share Movement's link on our social channels and in the show notes so that you can get on their platform and start winning campaigns.
Hi everyone, welcome to
hello.
Over the Top and Under the Radar. I'm Carys.
And I'm Gary Young.
And we're really excited to be in person at the Bernie Grant Arts Centre with all of you. Can we have a round of applause for everyone who's come? Big shout out to the team at the Bernie Grant Arts Centre. For those of you who don't know, it's a brilliant venue for creatives, black creatives. They've got studio space, they've got book slam tomorrow, and they've got a bar, which if you buy a drink in, you are supporting the organisation. So I promise we'd say that. Anything else you want to say?
Well, we are thankful to Movement for your sponsorship and support. And this is a Christmas special. We can tell because Carys has a sparkly, very, very sparkly.
You didn't get the Christmas memo. What is this? Your Christmas jumper?
This is. I remember when I was at school in sixth form. I remember a girl saying to me, I still think it's funny. She said, "So, do you wear your school clothes to parties or your party clothes to school?" I've got a very limited wardrobe. And
but
I
you
don't
do,
care.
But the beanie here?
The beanie's here, yeah.
Show the people what they want to see, the beanie.
It will be a cold day in hell before I leave the house without my beanie. Here it is. Oh, this is actually not my beanie.
Is that a special beanie?
That beanie...
That might be for later.
Well, it has the words Git Slayer on it. Which I'm all for. Slaying gits.
I think we've got special branded. I think they're a Christmas gift.
So, just tell us what goes on with your people at Christmas. The Welsh Ghanaian diaspora. How do they?
Well, so first of all we call it Brixmas.
Okay.
Because it happens in Brixton. Just a lot of food.
A lot of food.
A lot of food. That's kind of the cheese, chocolate, various meats. Never turkey. My brother is dead against it. We don't get to celebrate.
I'm against turkey as well. It's a dry bird.
It is a dry bird, but it's traditional, Gary.
I know, but so's racism. Some traditions you have to just
Turkeys and racism.
Do.
We're over it. Okay, what's happening in the Young household?
My partner's from Chicago, and her dad is getting on, so we will be going to Chicago for 2 weeks.
Snow.
Probably, yeah. More cold than snow. I lived in Chicago for 4 years, and the joy of snow really kind of after a while subsides because you just don't see the pavement for about three months.
Have you ever
Yeah, and you can't take your kids out because it's too cold. And even getting your kids ready just to go out is like a big operation.
Lots of layers.
Yeah.
Turkey?
No.
What are you going to be eating?
I think we're going to have some beef. A nice thing about like the beef I cooked for you during the Euro 2021. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember it. It was good. It was good beef. Good potatoes. Good beef.
Yeah. Did
you want the people to hear that?
I did. Yes. Yes, I fucking did.
Gary cooks a mean beef joint. We promised surprises. I think we haven't got a system for this.
No.
But because it's a Christmas show, we wanted to give you something, have a bit of a giveaway.
And it is
the first and only.
It's a custom-made beanie.
Are we just going to be just throw it out? We're going to make people answer a question, do a dance? What's the plan?
Do a dance is a big risk.
Okay, fair. We don't want to put people's knees to the test. So you're just going to throw the beanie out.
I'm going to throw the beanie out.
Someone's going to catch the beanie, and then we're going to give them a round of applause.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
brilliant.
I'm going to do that.
You do it. Okay, can we get a round of applause or a drum roll? Some sort of, woo, okay. Whoa, who got it? Exclusive. Put that shit on eBay, it'll be worth loads.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done the beanie hat.
We've done the beanie hat.
Can we get a round of applause for Gary's throwing? For you guys, and for Bell Ribeiro-Addy.
Hey, come on, Bell Ribeiro-Addy, come on down. What a joy.
Welcome.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Very special guest.
Do you want to, Bell? Do you want to
I
intro her?
I do know Bell. I guess I want to start by asking Bell, very soft ball question to start with. How does Christmas work in your house?
Well, Christmas since my parents retired back to Ghana.
Oh, nice.
Great place. Wonderful people come from there.
There's now a majority for Ghana and South London on the stage,
Yeah.
so you need to behave yourself, okay?
Okay.
And so Christmas stopped being what the typical Christmas in London used to be, and now I'm in Ghana every Christmas, which is lovely.
Accra? or
Accra,
Kumasi?
yeah, my family are from Accra. I'm a Ghana, so we're from the coast, from the capital. Now they call it Dirty December.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say, it's got, the influencers have taken over, haven't they?
They
It's a
have,
party
and
time.
obviously I don't get involved in that sort of stuff because I'm a respectable politician. Although somebody did say recently to me, yeah, I see you all the time at Polo Beach Club, which is not a good...
Oh.
I don't go there.
So, you're not doing Dirty December. Are you doing turkey, jollof?
December.
Just December.
Just December. Turkey, yes. Jollof, yes. Fufu, yes.
Oh.
Everything else, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
to-
all
we
the
need to
animals.
go.
They do turkey there.
They do turkey.
Wow. Colonialism
Not
did a
turkeys.
meal number on people, didn't it?
No, but I
Sent
think...
its bad birds all over the world.
Yeah. But it's very different. It's a very different experience buying your frozen turkey from somewhere and actually seeing your turkey before you have it.
Ah.
This hasn't happened to me in recent years, but I remember when I was very young, one of my uncles being very excited that we had come for Christmas. I think I must have been about 7 or something like that. And one of the times that we come, and the turkey was walking around, and then the turkey was not walking around.
Were you involved? I was once involved in
In
the
the plucking?
chicken, but it was, well, not just the plucking, it was the whole,
No,
the chicken
not that.
was
I
there,
couldn't
the
do
chicken
that.
had no head, then the chicken had no feathers. It was a lot for
Yeah,
someone who's used to Tesco.
It's a lot.
It was a bit
It's
of
lot,
a-
yeah.
Okay. So, so you get to name your dinner.
Not anymore. I
No,
don't
but you
engage.
did. You
I
did
have
that.
a tradition with one of my cousins where we go somewhere for breakfast in the morning so we don't have to help, which really, really gets on my mum's nerves. But I explain to everybody else in the house that I'm on holiday. I don't know what they're doing.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, I've got one more. What is your favourite Christmas movie?
Oh, my favourite Christmas movie. At the moment, it's probably Best Man Holiday.
I haven't watched it.
Oh, what's
Is it
that
good?
about?
Do you remember The Best Man? Mm-hmm. And it's a film with Ty Diggs and Morris Chestnut and...
It's a good film.
Yeah, yeah. And he writes a book actually about sleeping with his friend's husband. It sounds awful.
Yeah.
But anyway, the sequel to it was a Christmas movie. It was shot. at
Okay.
Christmas.
It's not obvious,
It was,
is it?
it was no, it's not obvious. It's funny though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure.
I mean, mine's Die Hard, but
is it Die Hard?
it's a Christmas movie.
Is that a
Apparently
Christmas
Die Hard
movie?
is not a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie. Fight me. No.
Bruce Willis said it's not a Christmas movie.
What? Bruce said it. Oh.
See, Bruce.
But
said
he
it.
wears a Christmas hat.
So, oh well then.
And he kills a load of people.
Oh well
Be
then.
more
What says
Christmassy.
Christmas like death?
Maybe
no,
I'll
no,
watch
no,
Best
that's
Man
not,
Holiday.
That's Easter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You're a Labour MP.
I am in my second term.
How did you end up becoming an MP?
Well, I worked for a long time for Diane Abbott, and I have to blame that. Yeah.
Come on, big round of applause.
Yeah. Louder.
I must say that I didn't really like MPs before. I like some now, and obviously I always liked Diane, but no, I mean genuinely through working for her, and working for her was actually just about working for her. It just became something, as in all of the work around it became something that I realised that I was good at, and she was always very, very encouraging. And I think you get to that place where you start to think, well, why not me? Why can't I do this? And I think beforehand, I would genuinely have thought, even with everything else that I'd been involved in, that it wouldn't be something that I would do.
It's your home seat, right?
It is my home
Where I
seat.
grew up as well.
Yeah.
So
Brixton
what
Hill.
changed your mind? What made you think, oh, I can do it?
What changed my mind? A few things changed my mind. I started to think about I suppose, what I was going to do. I'd worked for Diane for a number of years. I had 5 different jobs, which is why I was still there. I was good at it, which is why she hadn't sacked me. And things were changing. I remember having to change my job title in her office, not because I was necessarily doing anything, but because some people had still not got it into their heads that they could speak to me. I was the most senior person in her office. So before, I was a political advisor. I had to give myself the title head chief of staff, just that people would understand that I wasn't a small girl somewhere. It's not my fault I moisturise. Apparently, I look younger than I am. And, people would ask really ridiculous questions like, are you her daughter? Are you her intern? I was like, why didn't you ask me what I do? And then perhaps I'll tell you what I do. And
you didn't want to fuck with them and say, like, I'm Gordon Brown's love child.
But I think I got to a point where I realised that it was something I could do. And someone actually asked me to run in my seat against the person that was there. Because with Labour MPs, every time an election comes up, you're meant to restand in the Labour Party. So you go through a selection process again.
Yeah, you get reselected.
Yeah, you get reselected, yeah.
Party democracy.
Yeah, they hated the person, the left in the area hated the person that was there. There were some people that are like, well, when he comes up for selection, you should stand against him. And I was like, no, I don't agree with him on everything, but on a principle, I'm not going to stand against another black man. And actually, if he wasn't there for some reason, okay, why not? And then he decided to go on a journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plot twist.
Cul-de-sac.
Yeah. He decided to go on this serious journey where he became an independent, then he started his own party, then he joined the Lib Dems. And obviously it was vacant. And the question then becomes, why not you? There are a lot of people, because you have to remember, at any one time, there are only 650 MPs. And you'd be shocked at how many people want to be MPs. And I feel really bad because sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh. But there are loads of people that really, really want to be MPs. So when a seat comes up, the claws come out.
It's bananas, isn't it?
It's a lot.
It's
So are you saying you didn't really want to be an MP?
No, I'm saying before then,
it hadn't been your life's ambition.
Yeah, it wasn't my life's ambition. And there are some people who they really, 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 really want to be an MP. And they've been working towards it and thinking about it and, strategizing towards it. I have to be honest, I happen to be in a very good place at a very good time. And because of that, the advice that I give anyone, because people come to me and say, so how do you go about becoming an MP? I have to say to them, you can be as great as you want to be, but timing will ultimately be everything. I would never have been selected for that seat before, and I would never be selected for that seat now. It's about timing.
You become an MP in 2019.
Yeah.
That's the election when Labour goes down in flames. You rise, party does not so well.
Yeah, it was a sad night.
Yeah. And then you're in a different arena. Right, Jeremy stands down, Keir Starmer takes over. You say you wouldn't be selected now. Does that worry you?
Does that worry me?
Because it means someone like you can be selected now.
Yeah, that does worry me. I think it's important that we have people from all types of backgrounds in our party. And actually, to some extent, different views. Obviously, we have to stand on Labour Party principles. Otherwise, you should just join another party. There is a bit of a spectrum within the party. And I think that's fine. That's healthy to some extent, not to other extents. But it does worry me that somebody like myself, because I don't think I'm wrong about things. And I don't even mean that in I must be right about everything. I stand on certain principles. I believe in those principles. I believe those principles align with, what the party was started on in terms of socialism, thinking about their views on the NHS, thinking about the views on racism and poverty and, actually generally uplifting the working classes. All of those sorts of things are important and they don't seem to play a huge role in people's motivations to go into politics at the moment.
So you're on the left of the party. That's not controversial to say. You're a proud socialist. You've got this kind of unique position, right? Because you worked for Diane and she really represents, along with people like Bernie Grant, like that first generation of black MPs and like black left MPs. So you're sort of a new generation. What does it feel like being sort of in the campaign group or sort of on the left, but being from that new intake, younger intake, having like a different experience?
Well, I think for one, in terms of a diversity perspective, it's different because when Diane came, obviously it was just her. And it explains a lot about why she speaks the way that she does. Because when you come into that arena and it's just you, I don't know what you do. But now there are more of us for very simple things, just to even sound off about what it is that may have happened to us that day, whether we got called the wrong name, whether somebody handed us their bag to hold because they thought we were a member of staff, somebody told us to leave the lift because it's not for cleaners, or anything like all of these different things that you could talk to each other about that you wouldn't have had somebody to talk to about then. And just think, I have Diane to sound off on. So anytime any major thing happens, I managed to get myself the office next door to hers, which I'm not sure how she feels about, really. Because I can still get into her office quite easily.
What's through the window?
She's got better stuff in her office, to be fair.
I love it. She just comes back and you're there, like, with your feet up, cup of tea, her biscuits open.
Not quite, but yeah, sometimes I'm in there. It's got better lighting as well.
Lighting's important, you know.
Yeah.
She's
the mother of the house, man.
She's the mother of the house.
That's got to come with some perks, right?
But I mean, just it is just different to be able to have people there that you can, I suppose, you can speak to about some of the most difficult things. And you know, coming in this generation, you have to asking questions. Is it worse than when it was when you were in the left under Blair and, you know, you were breaking the whip all the time and X, Y, and Z, you know, is that different? And yeah, I think it's good to just be able to have those people that know what it's like and can guide you.
For people who haven't worked in Parliament or spent a lot of time in Parliament, I managed a year and I will never go back. It is quite a strange workplace, just in terms of it's super white.
Very weird.
The wood panels, the armed security, that's weird. But it's also like incredibly white. When I was there, most of the black people were working in the cafeteria. So when police assume you shouldn't be there, they are kind of running a numbers game. There was one Ghanaian auntie who used to give me free lunch, so shout out to her. But it's quite stark, and I can't imagine what it's like to be one of the 650 MPs and then be sort of constantly racially profiled, have microaggressions. MPs do have like special passes, there are lifts they can use so they can get to the votes on time. Like,
it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Sadly. I mean, we've got these passes and the passes are clear, but sometimes people, they're just not looking at it. And you think to yourself, oh, you know, I'm an MP now. You're going to treat me a little bit differently, but actually you're not. The thing that really gets me is I try and have as many different people in the house as possible. If an organisation, my constituency, or an organisation that works in an area that I'm interested in would like to hold an event, I let them hold an event. It's the House of Commons. It's their house, technically. And when my guests, who from very diverse audiences are coming through, they're getting treated differently. They're getting searched differently. I'm getting checked on what I'm doing. And mind you, like I said, I worked for Diane and she was very, very good. We don't break the rules. We don't break the rules because if we break the rules, we get caught first. We know everybody else breaks the rules. It's their business. That's how she says it. It's their business. It's their business, but we don't break the rules. So to be watched in that way, I think is often even over just little things. The members' dining room. And I remember one time, my friend Apsana Begum, she goes in and she's not wearing her pass. There are loads of MPs at the time not wearing their pass. I am wearing my pass. So we go up and the guy behind cutting the meat asks her, where's her pass? And she was like, oh, it's in my bag, I'm going to get it. I was like, no, I'm an MP. I can tell you she's an MP too. And he was like, oh, but she should be wearing her pass. And I was like, there are loads of other people in this room not wearing their pass. And he's like, well, there's loads of MPs. We can't recognise all of them. Yes. And and then Dawn Butler walks in and I just start cussing as loudly as possible. He knows who I am now. He knows who I am. And we just leave it at that. I mean, I'm not the type of person that will go and report you to your mic but you need to know not to do that. Because yes, she may not have been wearing it fine, but I was, and I told you who she was, and that should have been the end of that.
I want to ask, because you said, and this speaks to the kind of the challenges of the politics of representation. I kind of know the answer to this, but it's going to lead to something else. Could you go to Kemi Badenoch and say, look what they did in this situation? Doesn't that get your go? I mean, she's a black woman. She, I'm assuming, is having analogous situations. I'm wondering, kind of, first of all, the challenge that presents about kind of representation, but then secondly, what do you make of her leadership of the Tory party?
Firstly, I'll be honest, it's a completely different experience for women of colour on the left. And I think we need to be clear about that. All politicians of colour will experience some kind of racism. And obviously all of that is wrong. But there is an additional layer of it if you are willing to stand up and say certain things. And So it's not all the same. We are not all treated the same. And, some people will argue that, or will basically say you should just keep your head down. But obviously I don't think that's what we're there for. And that is the difference for me between diversity and representation. We have more Black and Asian parliamentarians than we've ever had before. So I would say that we have much more diversity in Parliament. And diversity is important. It's important to see people that look differently, are of different genders, sexual orientations, etc. All of those different things represent different areas. It's important because it reflects society. But representation is something entirely different. Representation is representing the views of those communities. And what you realise is that for the people of colour in politics, and particularly in the Conservative Party, those that rise to the highest ranks quite specifically do not represent the communities they reflect in their heritage. And in fact, sometimes speaking against them has got them to where they need to get to.
And I think it is worth calling out that point, because if you Google News Bell, you'll get very quickly a Guido Fawkes article and a whole tab. So that idea that you're specifically targeted because you are of colour and you are on the left, I think is very easy to verify. And again, is something that Diane has experienced and continues to experience. So thank you for speaking up and representing and not just being a diverse person. Do you have any more questions, Gary? I've got one more.
Yeah, I've got one, which is Labour's crashing in the polls. This is not like, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. They've not had a honeymoon. I'm wondering why you think that is and what you think needs to change.
I came in 2019 and I came in on a very, very clear manifesto. Unfortunately, it was a very, very bad election for us as the Labour Party. We have a particular electoral system, first past the post. Sometimes it's very, very difficult to assess a situation. But that election was really focused around Brexit. And I think one of the major issues that we have in politics at the moment, and, the media has seized upon this, and actually politicians have seized upon this, is polarisation. We no longer have debates. It's either one way or the other. And because people present things like that every single election cycle that we come to and every single issue that we come to, it seems the debate gets really toxic and you're on one side and you're on the other and you're willing to listen to the views of one side or the other. You can get media that reflects those specific views and, you quite clearly hate the person on the other side. And so we've got into a situation where people are in very difficult circumstances in this country, cost of living crisis, things don't seem to be getting any better. And instead we play to the media. We play to the media, we play to the rhetoric. We have a situation where you've got the Reform Party rising in the ranks just by saying some really bizarre things and just blaming the other. There's absolutely no evidence that people who are seeking asylum in this country or come from other places are the cause for everybody's problems. But you can just blame them. And then the other parties think, and to some extent even my own, that we can't ignore what is being said, so we have to jump on the bandwagon. We have to acknowledge some of these views, when actually we should just stand in the polar opposite to it. Again, not in that very, very polarizing way where we're very much like, oh my gosh, we hate these people on this side, but just to stand up and bust all of those myths. Because what ends up happening in society in terms of where we put our resources and how politicians end up focusing on particular issues, they are all political choices. We could spend our money differently, but we don't. And instead of looking at things that are going to create social change, I think we all get stuck in politics in chasing headlines or chasing what the people on the other side are doing because it seems to have got them some traction. And by doing that, we're not serving the country. So people get angry, people walk away, it's not that they vote Tory, they just don't vote Labour. And that's where the problem's going to be.
We're going to bring it over to you guys. But before we do, what keeps you hopeful? What do you do to give you joy outside of
listening to our podcast?
Yeah.
other than listening to your fantastic podcast. Do you know what? I have really, really good friends. I enjoy a lot of live music. I love going to the jazz cafe quite a bit. I love going to Ghana at Christmas. And, do you know, I would say one of the things, I love comedy shows, although I'm finding it a bit difficult to go to them now because, when they make those jokes that perhaps you shouldn't be laughing at and someone's looking at you like, why does she look so familiar?
Yeah.
So, things like that. But, but being around people who I suppose know you well, that you can just relax and have a good time with. I am not, as my cousin says, she said, I can't believe people take you seriously.
My daughter says that.
Yeah. When it comes to our work, I'm serious, but outside of that, I'm just, yeah.
That's about keeping sane as well. Helpful.
Make jokes, laugh. Life is hard as it is. And if you're doing your job properly, it is probably difficult as well. So, yeah.
Well, we can give a round of applause for that.
Yes.
Okay, it's over to you. If you would like to ask a question or say something, I can't. Oh, right, the lights are up. I can see things. And maybe let's go here.
My question initially was going to be about what's the state of the Labour WhatsApp chat, but to switch it around,
there are very, very many WhatsApp chats.
I wanted to pick up a point that Carys said in the last podcast, which is, do you see an opportunity? Do you see anything in Labour leadership about reconciliation with the left, particularly where it seems like from the outside view, from my point of view, there's no more progress in the narrative around going further and further and further to the right. So at the moment, it just seems to be that we're inevitably going to get reform in the next election. Is there something that Labour could do more, or the top is trying to do more to try and reconciliate the party again?
Should we get a second one? Does anyone else put their hand up? If there's a mic there, the person in the hat.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing your experience of being a woman of colour in the Houses of Parliament. It's extremely difficult, actually, to hear of what you do go through every day in terms of the racial profiling, because people who don't have the kind of job that you do, that has the amount of public exposure and the amount of accountability to multiple stakeholders, go through that every day anyway. But you're going through that and also the very difficult job of being an MP. So thank you, firstly, for the resilience that you have to show every day in your job. I just had one question for you, which is what needs to change in the Houses of Parliament to allow more people like yourself to hold on to power?
In terms of what needs to happen to change, I think, firstly, political parties need to change. All of them need to change. Ours is by no means perfect, and the way in which the structures operate makes it very difficult for them to be more representative of the communities that they're in. That makes a massive difference. So if you're not entirely representative of the communities that you're in, you're not going to get candidates that are representative. You're not then going to push forward an MP that is representative, who is going to make changes in the House that are more representative. But also, I think we need to actually abide by our law. We have an Equalities Act, which is, again, by no means perfect, but internationally, it is a gold standard of all of the equalities legislation that we have right across the world. The problem is that we don't implement it. You're meant to equality check every single piece of legislation. You're meant to check all of the different characteristics before we pass anything at all. And if we checked every single piece of legislation, every single budget against that equalities legislation, there are some things that we would do and some things that we wouldn't do that I think would ultimately benefit society. And if we literally couldn't pass something, if we knew it was going to disadvantage a group, it would make a massive difference. So those are some of the things that I would change initially. People say that we can't change people's views, but if we don't challenge them, we're not going to. And I think part of the problem is, like I said, instead of challenging some of the really negative narratives, if we think they're gaining traction, we try and jump on board with them slightly. And it's something that Diane always says. She said, you can't out-Tory the Tories. It's true. There are parties, not just the Labour Party. We believe a certain thing and we should stick to that. There is no ground to be gained, I think, chasing other people on their very right-wing narratives because we think that it's going to gain electorally. And the first question
was about, which leads on very well, was about reconciliating Labour, a reconciliation with the left.
Reconciliation with the left. Well, I think, do you know, I mean, obviously there are some very, very different views on different issues, from foreign policy to economic policy. But ultimately, most people in the Labour Party believe the same things, whether or not they're on the left or the right. A lot of the time, what seems to have happened is they've disagreed as to who should be in charge. And one of the things that gets to me the most is all of the polarization that comes from literally just deciding who should be in charge. And then people get into different camps and they, and then, you know, they've decided that this person is on this side and the other person is on this side. And so they start to, one, not trust each other, label each other in a certain way, actively try and remove each other from the party and things such as that. And I think that is awful. That needs to stop firstly. We need to accept that we're not all going to 100% agree on everything, but also accept that there's a place for everybody in the Labour Party unless they are against those views. So there's nothing that the left is saying or doing that is against our founding principles. And, we are never going to win an election in this country without the left on board. And we could have easily lost this one. With our first past the post system, the reason we won, and we have to be clear about that, is yes, because we ultimately got more votes and people were sick of the Tories, but also because the reform vote was higher. Just like in 2019, the reason why the Tories won, again, their vote didn't go up massively, but our vote went down because other votes that would usually have voted for us either stayed home or they voted Lib Dem or Green. So whilst we exist in this system, we don't have the luxury of wasting the left's vote or driving it away by not accepting them and their views in the party. We are all meant to be democratic socialists. So I think the first thing that has to happen is for people to not feel like they're being driven out or they're being pushed out of the party, because I think that is a general feeling everyone. So many people have left the party that shouldn't have, and that doesn't make any sense to me, because if you believe in those principles, you should ultimately stay, and anybody else who doesn't should be the ones that leave.
But a lot of them leave because they're kicked out.
Yeah, they do leave because they're kicked out. That needs to stop. If you're asking what needs to change, that needs to stop, because there was a time when we were the largest political party in Western Europe, and that was something.
And that was just a few years ago.
And you have to remember that in 2017, we came within 2,000 votes of winning that election. 2,000 votes, maybe like 100 here, a couple of hundred there, right across the country. I actually remember, because that's when I working for Diane, I was her political advisor and she was the Shadow Secretary of State for the Home Office. And that year we had a few terrorist attacks. And every time there was a terrorist attack, we'd have to go in and see Amber Rudd. This was just before Theresa May had done the deal with the DUP. And so in those 2 weeks after the election, people didn't know in the Home Office who their boss was going to be. We've been to the Home Office a few times. People just, let us in. This time, 5 different people offered us a cup of tea. People were holding up the lift to come and say hi to her. It was a lot. We were like, what is going on here? And then we had a really, really interesting meeting with Amber Rudd, and her and Diane disagreed on something at the end. I think it was the prevent strategy. And then Diane says, oh well, sorry to hear about your 3 recounts.
Shade.
Savage. We love it.
But and do you know, Amber Rudd took it in her stride. She laughed and she said, "Oh, I think that was a bit of misreporting, Diane. It was only 1 recount." And she said, "And obviously, I have to say congratulations on your stonking majority." Diane was like, "Yes," and we left.
Oh.
But as I said, in 2017, we didn't know who was going to... For the first, we didn't know who was going to be in charge of the Home Office. Jeremy could have been the Prime Minister. And actually, that was the first time I'd ever heard of people actually reading a manifesto. They actually read it. And they were like, this is good stuff. And, people generally were enthused by those particular ideas. So why don't we just bring them back? I genuinely believe that people really resonated with those ideas, and they resonated with the idea that we could have a society that actually benefited everybody, not just the very, very rich like it does at the moment. We need to bring some of those policies back. And actually, we're in government now. We could deliver them. That would be amazing.
Final round of questions. Put your hands up, wave them around, be proud. It looks like they're all on this side.
I have a question about polarization that you mentioned really earlier on. Also, a bit of a fun question, because obviously Christmas is coming, Christmas dinner is coming, opportunities to get everyone around the table debating healthily. Any kind of tips that we can have in terms of bringing people together to have nuanced debates about some of the things that's going on in the world?
Oh, I like that question. Would you want to pass to the person in front of you, and we'll do both?
Okay, so this is a question for all of you. It's a bit controversial because we don't really like them, but if you really had to, which Conservative politician, if you really had to vote for,
None of them.
would you vote for, past or present?
I'd have to say Peter Bottomley. And that's a really strange...
He's in the reparations group, isn't he? Come
he
through.
Was.
Oh.
And do you know what? It was really... I know.
They did him dirty.
They did. But this is what happened at the last election. Every single Labour MP that was in a safer seat, that's what they termed mine, had to be paired with an MP in another seat. Most of the Labour MPs love Peter Bottomley because he'll sign up to anything. No, but in a good way, because he was the father of the house and he would just be like, maybe I don't agree with you, but it's fine, I'll sign it. And he was meant to retire, but the Tories couldn't find enough people to run in this election. So we were on our way. I remember my office manager was driving us down to the seat that he was at. And I was like, let's just look up who the candidate's going to be for the Tories this time, because Peter Bottomley is standing down. And when I got there, it was him. And so I had to campaign against him for Labour to win, obviously, team player. But it was sad because he was a good father of the house in that he would support people regardless of what he actually thought.
And he at least initially supported the all-party parliamentary group on
he
reparations.
did. And they dragged him for it, and he just shrugged.
There you go, there's one. Okay,
Struggling.
keep thinking.
I'm
How
struggling.
are we going to bring people together?
I mean, you saying Peter Bottomley did make me think of Virginia Bottomley, who I interviewed once and was very nice. But then that's like buy one, get one free, isn't it? That's not...
Are they related?
So they're married, right?
Yeah, they are married. But she's in the Lords, and they haven't put him in the Lords yet, which is shady.
Yeah.
Because he supported reparations.
Yeah, perhaps.
And a lot of it is it's a little bit like you saying, you know, even Tony Blair did this, and I'm like, oh man, do I have to like miss Tony Blair now? Do you know what I mean? Like, or that's
the times we're in. We're in late stage capitalism. Stuff is bleak, and you're like, oh,
so
damn, Tony Blair did it.
I think of people like Ken Clark, but then I think of all of the teachers that I knew when he was educated, like bloody Ken Clark, and I think, no, it's just things have got so bad now that like the fact that he liked a pint and a cigar.
Yeah, they purged him, didn't they? And they're like,
they got
purges,
rid of. I mean, they got rid of you if you were wrong on Brexit for them, or just nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, how about you?
Mine was going to be Ken Clark, but then I remembered he's actually not that good. He's just sort of, is it avuncular? Is that the word?
He's just not a git.
Yeah, plus I think he was like a tobacco lobbyist, so no. I'm going to go Peter Bottomley. My man wants reparations.
So we're just all...
Okay. We love Peter Bottomley, that's the learning.
Yeah, and the way that we're going to reconcile at Christmas is we're all going to head down to the Bottomleys.
No, we're going to a choir. We're going for Dirty December. Jollof. Wait, so how are we going to... Someone's got their Christmas table out, different political views. Any tips from the professional?
Different political views. Professional. My cousin wouldn't agree. Do you know what? Starts with food, doesn't it? Firstly, if the table is bare, there's going to be beef.
That's good.
But not actual beef, because there'll be no food. But I think it starts with that. Even food can be political at one point. So, get the food out. When people's bellies are full and they've got a nice drink, doesn't have to be alcoholic, you find that they're more amenable to talking. And maybe that's why the debates go on the way they do in the House of Commons, because you can't eat in there. You can only have water.
Oh, people are hangry.
People are hangry, and you have to sit there for the entire debate.
Are you saying that our democracy would be better if there was like a snack machine?
Absolutely. What about the toilet? Where if someone needs a toilet?
If you want to go to the toilet, you can go to the toilet, but you may miss your place, and then you're going to have to stay even longer.
Do you have to ask to go, or can you just
You can ask to go. And actually, I shouldn't say they play favourites, because you're not meant to challenge the chair in any way, shape, or form ever. But some people get to speak earlier than others. Some people get to leave and come back.
Go to the toilet, have a cheeky Snickers. Terrible.
That's shocking. Some people watch tractor porn.
That was crazy, wasn't it?
That was crazy. Like, if you're caught... I mean, it's bad enough that you're caught watching porn. That is just like, just get the fuck out. But the idea that you're caught watching porn, you say, sorry, I was looking for tractors. It's like, dude, you're not helping.
Listen, there are 650 of us, and because they're obviously completely obsessed with tradition, that chamber is really small, and it probably can't fit more than just under 400 of us at any one time. Sometimes we are very closely packed together. That is not the type of thing you can do incognito. Somebody would have seen you. And it seems that he didn't even care.
Maybe that's part of the thrill. I don't want to kink shame him, but maybe that's part of it.
You don't want to tractor shame him.
No, well, yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I don't think it's appropriate in the workplace, but I don't want to yuck his yum, as they say. I feel like the tractor porn was one of the points at which I was like, if the world were a TV show, this script would have been thrown out.
Yeah.
Too ridiculous, too far. Gary, how are you going to bring people together?
I think bringing people together is overrated.
Because there's so many gets.
Well, first of all, if you got a Trump voter in the family or something like that, just don't invite them. If there's been a breach.
Okay.
So,
exclude them.
And then if you're with family, there's a great word. I think it's a Yiddish word. It might be called broigus. Which means like family drama. I love that shit. I love the niggles and the arguments and the kind of...
You're stirring the pot, aren't you? You're
I
in
lean
amongst
into
it.
Yeah.
You're like, Auntie so-and-so, I heard he said your chicken was dry.
Yeah.
Wow.
More gin, Auntie so-and-so. You know, so-and-so, how's your special friend at work? No, whatever. I lean into all of that because it's kind of... it's fun. And it's actually... Obviously, you don't want to go to the darkest place.
Right.
And every family has these dark places where you're
It's
like,
not EastEnders.
yeah. These are not people that you choose, apart from your partner. These are people that you are bound to genetically. So have a laugh with it.
That's such a youngest child
peaceful
energy.
Christmas.
That's such a youngest child energy. You come here, you're just mischief makers. You have to be serious, not like the oldest. You're just like, just cause some drama. Just
so
create some
what?
more
You'd be
fights.
like Boutros, Carys at the table. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down.
No, there was one year that I cooked the Christmas dinner and my brother, who may be listening, made a comment about the roast potatoes, and it was a tense. No,
that's Fight Club. You can't talk about
also, like,
food.
I hadn't. Normally, my mom cooks the roast. She's very good at it. It's very stressful. There's a lot of timings, and the last thing you want is something from the cheap seats when you sit down finally to have your potatoes. Yeah. Oh, it's not as good as mum. Well, do you want to fucking cook it? So I'm not.
See,
perfect.
You would do
but
well
I'm not
at my
causing
table.
drama. I'm not stirring the pot.
Well, you're undercooking the potatoes. That's drama.
You didn't eat the potatoes.
That's what I heard.
I think within reason there is scope for talking across the divide, and especially I don't know about Trump voters, but I think probably all of us have someone who's been radicalized by YouTube or Instagram. Many of them had opinions about. It's not that far down the rabbit hole to COVID is something about 5G. And I don't think we should write all of those people off.
No.
Although COVID, I do not believe, is about 5G.
No.
Not being dismissive, I think, is important. Full stomachs, no hanger. Yeah, I don't want to exclude everyone.
Not everyone. No. And it would be a bit like how much you want to talk about this 5G thing. Do you know what I mean? I'll give you a couple of minutes and then have a fucking potato shot, please. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's... it's an opportunity to get your crazy on and to kind of be in the presence of all of that and to do a little bit of crazy yourself. But everybody's... You put the gas in the tank and then you got to ride in the road with everybody else. There has to be some sense of all right, you've done your 5G thing now. Just stop. And
unless it's family drama, in which case you're
that's what it's like. Why don't we talk about Uncle Kenny's special friend? Let's take the heat off your conspiracy theories and talk about the affair that we all know he's having.
Okay, well, on that note, which isn't where I thought we would end it, but thank you so much, Belle. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Should we have a big round of applause for everyone?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Over the Top, Under the Radar this year.
This episode is brought to you by Movement, all your digital campaigning tools in one.
As always, you can support the podcast in at least 3 ways. Join our Patreon community at overunderpod.com.
Share our social media posts or follow us at over_under_pod_.
And finally, recommend a friend to be part of our growing community. And of course, subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast and get notified every time we launch a new episode.
You've been listening to Over the Top, Under the Radar with me, Carys Afoko, and Gary Young.